Summertime in the mountains. Summertime in the mountains of Colorado. I can't believe it. It's finally here. Stuck around for at least more than one day. I'm sitting on my front porch. It is absolutely beautiful outside. Having a little cup of coffee, enjoying the sunshine. I know it's been a couple of days since I've really done a proper live video, so I figured I would do some coffee today. Tell y'all a little bit about what's been going on. Check this out. I don't know if y'all can see this. Y'all see how my phone looks all crazy like? It's got like some weird background stuff. Let me tell you what happened to this phone. Some of y'all are going to get a kick out of this. So we went out on the boat a couple of days ago, and we were having a great time. Me and Zane caught some fish. The kids, we had taken around the water and the lake. And about mid-afternoon, the weather picked up and the wind was blowing and there was white caps and waves. And I had everyone in the boat, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take y'all to shore right now. We don't need to get out in the middle of this craziness." So we had pulled into this little cove, and I dropped all the kids off, and I tied the boat up. But the wind really started picking up and was crashing waves over the boat. And we were real close to another cove that was all kind of in the same cove. And I was like, I'm going to move the boat around the corner here into this real protective cove because the wind was getting all crazy and crash. Meanwhile, the family's on the shore. Everybody's fine. Everybody's safe. Well, I start backing the boat out of this cove, and the water is just coming over the sides, just freaking uncontrollably. I start freaking out a little bit. I spin the boat around and I give it gas to haul ass into this cove, and all hell goes loose. The boat fills up with water, and before I know it, I'm on the shore holding the rope. I jump out the boat. I'm on the shore holding the boat, the rope to the boat, and the boat is completely underwater except for the tip top of the boat. We're screwed. We're in the middle of this cove, middle of Pueblo Reservoir, and I just sunk the boat. The family's up on the shore. They're chilling. Not chilling. They're freaking out, kind of. Nikki's calling the parks rangers, because at this point, we're actually stranded on the other side of the lake. So no matter what happens, we're going to have to get a ride back to the truck. And the park rangers show up, and they're like, "Hey, give me that rope. I'll pull your boat out." And I'm like, "Dude, the only part of my boat that the motor was completely sunk. The boat was completely sunk. The only part of the boat showing was the tip top portion of it." By the way, the boat is fine. The boat is right there. The boat is totally good. Which is the cool part of this story, is that everything ended awesomely. So I sink the boat. My phone was in the boat. And I was thinking, "Hey, Dana and twins." And the phone was in the boat. Me thinking that it was sunk, because once we pull the boat out and go through the boat, most everything that was in, well, not most everything, 4 out of the 5 fishing rods were saved. 5 out of the 5 fishing reels were saved, because only one of my fishing rods actually snapped, but the reel was saved and was stuck in the boat. This box stayed in the boat and stayed dry. Most of my fishing gear stayed, except for my actual tackle box vanished. Sucks. But I had thought my phone had sunk to the bottom of the lake. And when we got home and I started cleaning out the boat, took the decks out of the boat, was draining everything, getting everything dried off in the boat, all of a sudden, guess what I found? My phone. And now it was for sure completely submerged in water. And we threw it in a rice bucket for a day. and boom, it works. Now it only works viewable. The speaker's messed up. I can't talk. I can't do live videos from my phone, but I have a new phone that's here today. I'm supposed to go pick it up today. So brand new iPhone that I got in that's coming in today. But if you ain't ever sunk a boat, here's what happens. So I sink a boat. We recover the boat. They tow us literally across the lake, the full length of Pueblo Reservoir, get us back to the dock. My whole family's safe. Nobody got hurt. Nobody even got real wet except for me. Everybody was safe. The boat, we get the boat out, all of it in one day. And it didn't even cost me a dime. Like when the guys showed up to tow my boat, they got my boat towed up. They got it drained. They pumped it out. And the parks guys, and I was like, man, I'm going to hate to get this bill for what you guys have done. And the guy looks at me and is like, oh, you could drive your boat back right now. And I'm like, probably not. And he's like, yeah, we'll take y'all back to the dock. And he goes, oh, by the way, we're not going to charge you anything. We start talking to him, and normally the parks rangers don't help people tow their boats out. They would help people in distress. Like if we were stranded, they would definitely give us a ride. That's kind of part of their jobs or whatever. But normally they don't tow your boats out. But because of the virus, the parks rangers, or the parks department, is short-handed, and so the park rangers were helping out with any emergencies, towing boats out, and they didn't even charge us a dime. So I got my boat returned to me in working order. I cranked it up yesterday. Everything's great on the motor, ready to go back out, especially because this weather is getting to the proper weather. And so I got my boat towed out for free. Everything. I got my phone back, which the only reason it's cool to have my phone back is when I go to set up my other phone, it makes it a lot easier to set up my other phone if I have access to my phone, which is awesome. On top of that, over the last few days, I've just had a great couple of days without a phone. It's been awesome to sit back and relax and not even really worry about it. Yesterday was the first day I turned on the phone after we stuck it in the rice, and it's been a couple of days, and it worked, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. So when you guys have seen the post, you know, how I lost my phone at the bottom of the boat, many of you guessed a lot of different reasons. Well, the truth is I actually never lost my phone at the bottom of the lake because it never made it to the bottom of the lake. I didn't know that when I posted that, and I didn't know that until yesterday when I found my phone, or the day before yesterday when I found my phone. But I did sink my boat. I ain't even lying. And I would feel bad about that, except that I'm on a couple of other groups, and I had talked to them about, hey, I submerged my motor completely and sunk my boat. And everybody's like, oh, dude, we've all sunk a boat. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You know, and so a lot of people who have boated a long time have sunk their boat in the past. And so I didn't feel too bad about it after it was done, and especially because we were able to recover everything and didn't cost me a dime. I lost some fishing gear, which would piss me off, except that I lost very little fishing gear compared to what I could have lost. And the fact that my family was on that boat 5-10 minutes before it sunk really puts into perspective like what you could and couldn't lose. I don't let that freak me out. My kids haven't let it freak me out. My son is already excited to go fishing again. He caught his first walleye about 30 or 40 minutes before we sunk the boat. So he's stoked to go back fishing. I'm stoked to go back fishing. Did I learn some lessons? Absolutely. And lessons should always be learned in situations like that. And I learned a couple of good lessons and valuable lessons. The other thing I've done is, if you missed it, I replayed it yesterday. I was a part of an art show that we broadcasted live on Nob Hill Urban Arts District, as well as my buddy's YouTube page, Pays 164. If you miss that, you can catch that art show because I rebroadcasted it yesterday on Dad with the Phone pages. So you can go to Dad with the Phone YouTube or Dad with the Phone Facebook page and find that art show. It was cool. It was fun. We had a great time. I had a great time hanging out with my buddies, and we put on a pretty good art show with over 35 artists featured, as well as some musical artists. And so it was just a good time. It worked out good. Everything. I guess they're not going because the playground's still closed. Hey, Ella. Oh, I was going to say you should come by here and say hi to Dana and the twins. They still got the parks closed. These twin boys that are coming by are freaking adorable. They still got the park closed off? Oh. Yeah. she looks a little grumpy. Oh. My neighbors are out today. What are y'all up to? They did have some nice artwork. Oh. So Colorado is now officially in not a stay-at-home order, they're in a safe-at-home order. So a lot of the restaurants are still closed. Most retail businesses have opened. They have to follow some guidelines. Man, don't get me started talking about this. This is the biggest political conspiracy that has ever hit America, and you're not going to ever convince me otherwise. It's a fake pandemic, first of all. It's not a pandemic. I'm not saying that the virus isn't real. I'm just saying it's not a pandemic. It hasn't even killed as many people as the common flu has. It has nothing to do with stay at home or safe at home orders. It has nothing to do with you wearing underwear on your face. This has to do with the simple fact of this was an incredible executed political scheme. Whether or not it was a conspiracy, I think it's more of ignorance by the people in the U.S. And what I mean by that is I mean that I don't think this was a grand scheme that they came up with. I believe it was a setup that they used. In other words, we have a virus. Let's use that virus to shut down America. How are we going to shut down America? We're going to tell everybody it's not safe to go out. We're going to tell them they need to stay home. We're going to tell them that only essential workers can go out. How can we do this without? And I don't think they did this to I think they did this just to see if they could do it. It's like one of those things where, like, there's an old saying, like, when people talk about like weather manipulation, and I'm not trying to go down the weather manipulation conspiracies, but the truth is we actually can control the weather. They make it rain they have rain making machines in Dubai that make it rain every afternoon or every other day. You know, they actually have these things. These are real machines that throw clouds in the sky, and they can drop weather and they can drop rain. This is not a pretend. This isn't a conspiracy. It is simply what they've designed in Dubai to make it even livable in the middle of the desert. The question is not whether or not we can control the weather. It's should we control the weather? And we absolutely are controlling the weather in parts of the country. It's the same thing with this whole situation. Is not whether or not should we shut down the country. It's like, can we? And they said, let's see if we can shut down the country. And they did it. They literally shut down the strongest economy America's ever seen, and they crashed it. Now, whether or not they're going to be able to restart it, whether or not they're going to be able to stimulus it in, whether they're not going to be able to inject it with some steroids in stimulus checks or money, or however they're going to try to restart it, jumpstart it, shoot it with an EpiPen, whatever you want to compare it to. Who knows? We're going to live through it. I don't think it's going to destroy us, but it's definitely set some people back, man. I have talked to business owners that have shut their doors. I have talked to people who aren't going to make it through this like crash of the economy, and you worry about it. But I know that everybody's going to pull through. And I know that overall, you know, we didn't riot and there weren't mass people killing people for toilet paper. Although I'm pretty disappointed in my local grocery store. I heard a story yesterday that really disappointed me in one of the local grocery stores where they're like, a friend of ours has a couple of Airbnbs, and she was picking up supplies for the Airbnbs and for her home, and the people at the grocery store were like, you can't have that, you can't have this, you can't have more than one of these. And they started taking stuff out of their carts at the checkout line saying you can't have this. And they weren't even trying to hoard stuff. They're simply trying to take care of the businesses that they have. And the local grocery stores have been terrible at community and terrible at customer service. And it's pathetic to hear, but it's happening in my local town. And so that's why I know it's happening all over the country right now. But why? What is the overall outcome they're looking for? You know, I don't even know, like, because wicked men come up with wicked things that I can't even fathom. Like, what would be the overall outcome of a father killing the mother of his baby, right? Why would you do that in a world where you can divorce and have custodies and stuff like that? But it happens, right? And so when wicked men do things, sometimes we can't even fathom what their thinking is, what their outcome would be, why they would do the things they would do. There you go. But I got fresh sausages.
You're still good on coffee?
Yeah, I'm good. By the way, she would have brought me a whole breakfast, but all I wanted was some sausages. So she didn't just serve me sausages. She would have brought me more. You know, a lot of people would say trying to push vaccines. We saw people tearing up new cars in a parking lot on Saturday. So, okay, so other countries being shut down, to sit back and go, why, to ask the why behind it is almost to sit back and go, why do they try to control anything? This is simply what men have done for history, for all of our eternity, for as long as we've been on this planet. Men have tried to control other men. They've tried to assert force over other people, countries, small communities, villages. As far back as we can talk about in history, there's always been a certain group of people who have tried to have power over other groups of people. This is not even the idea that why, or the why behind why they would do this. Simply for power, to simply say we have the power to shut down our country whenever we want. In other words, this was an exercise. In my opinion, it was unforeseen. Now listen to me, because you'll understand this. I don't think this was premeditated, by the way, in a sense that they woke up at the beginning of 2020 and said, we're going to shut down the country this year. I think it was an opportunist kind of situation that happened, and they said, let's go. And once they said, let's go for it, they had to go full bore. What we've learned is that they literally control every business on the U.S. soil. In other words, if you think you're a business owner who owns your business, owns your property, owns the building you're in, owns whatever, you think you're an owner. That's it. You think you're a private property owner that has private property rights and private business rights. And the truth is, you don't. And we've seen that. We've seen it happen over the last few weeks, over the last month. We've seen it happen where the government has said, you do not control your business. You do not control what you think you own. You do not have property rights. In other words, if they wanted to come in and say, we're going to take your house because your house has been infected, boom, they'll take your house. If they wanted to come in and destroy your business, they've done that. They've literally told businesses, shut down. You can't work. And if you do, you're going to be ticketed, fined, or thrown in jail. And they've done that. And so, to good, bad, or indifferent, whether you believe it, whether you don't believe it, it's absolutely happening around the country. And we're just participants in this life that we call life. We're just a participant. We're just here for a moment. We're just here for a split second in eternity. And they have used this moment to control businesses. Good, bad, or indifferent. Whether you like it, whether you agree with it, we have seen the entire page and the narrative change from you got to have special masks to you can put underwear on your face and you're going to be keeping people safe. We hear these stories of you got to stay home, but then we've all been to the grocery store where the lines and people are packed, and we've been to places where people aren't exercising this 6 foot difference. I've had people yell at me and you're like, you just don't know anyone who's died from it yet. Yeah, you know what? I don't know anyone who's died from it yet. And I don't know if I'm going to know anyone who's died from it, because I think the numbers are inflated. Actually, I do know someone who's died from it. They died from a heart attack, but then they put on their death certificate that COVID-19 got them. And the truth is that COVID-19 didn't get them. A heart attack got them. But they still put on there. So when someone says, well, you don't know anyone who's died from it. Actually, I do know someone who has died from quote unquote COVID-19. The truth is they didn't die from COVID-19. They died from a heart attack. And on their death certificate, a part of why they died is listed as COVID-19. This is to pad the numbers. This is to show that that COVID-19 is killing people, and that's the truth. It's not. And I mean, maybe it is. Maybe you know someone who's died from it. And I'm not taking away that this virus isn't real, by the way. I'm taking away that the overextension and the response to this virus has been, it's almost been like fake news. It really has. 10 minutes before they started locking down. And by the way, we were one of the first to tell you that the country was going to go down on lockdown. And people were like, no way, it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I said it all along. They were locking the country down hours, a day and a half, 2 days, 3 days before they locked the country down. I was telling you the country was going to lock down. You can go check the live video records. We'd been talking about it before it happened because it affected us long before the lockdown came down. That's the one thing that I knew. I was working a show down at the Broadmoor, and I was talking to guys, and they were like, hey, they've canceled the show up in Denver already. And I was like, why did they cancel? And they're like, this COVID-19 thing. And so I started seeing shows cancel a month before anyone else, before they were canceling anything. And so understanding how they were controlling things and how they were systematically shutting down the country, and watching it happen and just sitting back going, yeah, but I live in the mountains. Yeah, but I work from home. But yeah, I homeschool my kids. But yeah, it hasn't really affected us in a sense of, my kids are home anyway. We were still homeschooling. It has affected our children in the sense that they shut down like the library. Local cops. I love how local cops show up while I'm doing a live video right now. Look at this. Good. That's the local canine officer. He's kind of a jerk too. He's just a jerk, not in a sense where he's come after me. He's just a jerk. That's what I've heard about him. I'm trying to read. I understand, Bridget. There are people that are losing everything. Like, again, it's easy for people to say, I like your comment. It's easy for people to say, suck it up. You do it for the whole country. Do what? You're not saving anybody by staying home. That's a false narrative. That's a false narrative that was put out by sheriff's departments, put out by press, put out by governments, put out by police officers, put out by nurses. I loved how the nurses all became superheroes. And the truth is, the hospitals were never overrun, at least here in Colorado. I'm not speaking for the rest of the country, but I can speak for the hospitals and the health department here in Colorado. And I can tell you right now, there wasn't one hospital that was ever overrun with COVID-19 patients. Colorado Springs, we created 150 extra beds here in Woodland Park for a town of 7,000 people, and not one of those extra beds got a COVID-19 patient. We didn't even fill up our regular hospital with COVID-19 patients. And so I'm sorry, nurses. I'm sorry, first responders. I'm sorry, police. You're not heroes in my book. You're a part of the problem in the spreading of the fear. You're doing TikTok videos with your entire staff at a hospital where people are supposed to be dying, and you're making TikTok videos and dances. You're not heroes. You're a part. You're buying into a propaganda system that pointed to you and said, "Oh, you're a superhero." And yeah, I'm glad that you're a healer. I'm glad that you're a part of the healing healthcare system. But I can tell you right now, our healthcare system is so broken, and it was exposed. That's the one thing that did happen in our system. Healthcare and hospitals are going bankrupt around the country right now because the elected surgeries and elected procedures had all been shut down. And all of a sudden, hospitals are like, we need that money. We got to have that money. We need that money for plastic surgeries and for nose jobs and for elected fat surgeries and elected suction out your fat surgeries and all this stuff. And so the one thing that was exposed during this COVID-19 is how anyone can grab on and be like, I'm a superhero now because I'm a first responder. Or I'm a superhero now because I'm a nurse. Dude, TikTok filled up with nurses doing dances in their hospital where there was supposedly people dying of diseases. And the truth is they weren't. They weren't. The hospitals never filled up. Never did. Never did. It makes me upset, not at the individuals. It makes me upset at the ignorance of a group of people to go, yeah, let's buy into this fear mongering that's sweeping the country. And then they're calling us superheroes. Let's jump on the bandwagon and do another TikTok video. Trust me, nurses got pissed at me. Half my listeners are probably nurses. And they're like, Dad with the phone's a jerk. He's a jerk. He's a jerk. No, I'm just telling you the truth. And you know it's the truth because you know your hospitals haven't filled up. Hospitals right now are vacant. They're empty. They're ghost towns because the elective of surgeries have been canceled because you can't go get your fat cells taken out. So I love it. You know, I don't believe in modern medicine. I haven't been to the doctor except I got my cancer cut off. So I believe in healing medicine. There's a difference between healing medicine and what we practice here in the States. I'm not telling you if you break your leg not to go to the hospital. I'm not telling you to, if you got some cancer not to go. I probably wouldn't go to the hospital if I had cancer. They've been killing people with cancer for years. I just think our health system we're not healthy people. We suck down more pharmaceutical drugs than any other country combined. Like, you take every country in the world and you combine it with the pharmaceutical medicines that they take, and they don't even come close to the medicines we shove down every day. Take one of these and call me in the morning. This is stuff I don't normally talk about because this is my personal belief stuff, and I'm not trying to push my personal beliefs on you, but you're on my page and you're listening to my channel. And so every once in a while, I'm going to push out a personal opinion, whether you like it or not. People think I still care. Like, I've been getting hate messages on Facebook because of some memes that I put out, or because I say something like the nurses think they're heroes and they're doing TikTok videos. All you got to do is turn the channel, turn it off, turn it off. So, coffee with Dad this morning. It's a feisty world we live in. I told you I could go full bore conspiracy and probably build my channel right now and be a conspiracy channel. The funny thing is it's not even a conspiracy. We're watching it take place right in front of you and I. We watched it go down. We're going to open this country back up and they're going to be like, okay, we're all safe. Well, then were we ever really in danger? That's the question you have to ask. It's for your own. It's for, I mean, they shut down schools. Teachers are going to lose their job. They're going to close the school doors. Some of this is good. Some of this is good. I look at this and I'm like, cool. You are single-handedly destroying an archaic school system. And I'm cool with that. Like, I look at the whole school shutdowns and I go, cool. You're shutting down an archaic learning system and you're redesigning it with these virtual classrooms. The problem is parents are going to catch on real quickly and they're going to get to choose their teachers from around the world, which means they're not going to send their kid to their local virtual class. They're going to send their kid to their virtual class that is taught by the best teachers in the world. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. My kid's taking classes from aerospace engineers and stuff because he was already in an aerospace class. But then I realized, I'm like, oh, shoot, any kid could get on and take this virtual class. Another thing, the virtual class clown. Check this out. So the virtual class clown was born. And it was born in a funny way. So my kids also have been doing some virtual homeschool classes with a homeschool collective group. And the other day, they went into this virtual classroom, right? Many of your kids are taking virtual classes through Zoom, and there's 20 kids in a Zoom class, you know, and it's a private class, right? So you have to have a password to get into the Zoom. Well, leave it to my kid, my son, who is actually most of the time pretty obedient. He doesn't talk back. He's real quiet. My son Zane, he's in this virtual class. He's bored because it's boring. And so he creates an entirely fake Zoom account on his cell phone. So he's on the computer with his sister. They're both sitting there. They're doing this Zoom class. Then he creates an entirely fake account with his cell phone and he starts trolling the class. He's trolling the teacher. He's trolling the kids. He's saying things in his microphone on his virtual fake account. And all of a sudden, my wife's getting phone calls. Now, he wasn't very secretive about it. He wasn't even very convincing in a sense that they didn't know who he was, because the other kids were like, oh, that sounds like Jimmy, Zane's alternative personality. But it showed something to me that, like, the virtual class clown is going to be birthed through these Zoom classes. I can't imagine. My wife was like, oh, I bet no one else is doing that. I'm like, you cannot tell me that they did virtual classes around the country and not one kid figured out that, oh, shoot, I can create a fake account. I can join the Zoom because I have the password and I can start just trolling the class and nobody would even know who I am. To me, I was like, that's innovative genius in how to be a class clown in a virtual world. Now, he lost his cell phone. He got grounded for a couple of days, and there were repercussions for his actions in class. But on the flip side, I was kind of like, yeah, dad with the phone kid used his phone to troll his virtual class. There was a little bit of me that was kind of proud. I'm not going to lie. No, I actually think the remote learning is something that came out of this that is going to be good for parents. Like all of a sudden parents were like, holy crap, we've been sending our kids to boxes, being shut up in like little rooms with 30 people and one teacher. And yeah, maybe they learn that way, but it's such an archaic way of learning. I actually think that the virtual classroom was something that was good that came out of this thing. That will continue through, that will continue to grow even if they open the schools back up. In Colorado, I think they've pretty much shut down the schools for the rest of the year, maybe even into the fall semester. The only question that'll be asked is, will they ever open back up? Because now that you've done this, why would you go backwards, right? As a government, why would you ever go backwards? Why would you want to go back to the archaic way of learning? Well, what you should do is you should recognize the best teachers that came out of this, the best classes that came out of this, and you should be able to grow those classes. And a virtual classroom of 30 people should turn into a virtual classroom of 500 kids learning from the best teachers in a virtual world, and then learning how to exercise their learning abilities outside the classroom. I think it's a great thing that came out of this. I think it was an eye-opener for a bunch of parents with their kids. The flip side is it was forced upon us in this weird way. So absolutely. I just watched a mother out of 30 other people with her kids playing on the park being arrested for trespassing. These are our rights. There's no effing reason, but people can shop at Walmart and CVS. Again, this is why it is being recognized by people, right? People that are logical are going, wait a minute. You're not going to let 3 kids play on a playground, but you'll let 500 people go to the Walmart up and down every aisle. This is why it's a fake. That they used a fake pandemic. I'm not saying the virus is fake. I'm saying it's a fake pandemic. A pandemic sweeps across a world, a country, and infects people, and people get sick and die by the hundreds of thousands and millions, right? There's definitely pandemics that have swept the world before. The Spanish flu, the bird flu, the Ebola. You could go through real pandemics. COVID-19, not a pandemic. COVID-19, a government-controlled virus that was used as a training exercise. Our sheriff's departments have ate this up because they've been given so much power. They're arresting kids and parents for being on playgrounds. It is what it is. People can get upset and say, oh, those parents should have listened. They're not being obedient to their government. And you think you live in a free country. I don't think we're a free country at all. I think we're better than most. I think it's still one of the better countries to be in right now. I think it's one of the better places to be in on the world. But to think that we are free is almost an imaginary. Now, again, I can leave my house right now. I live in the beautiful mountains of Colorado. Nobody's at my doorsteps. I was able to sink my boat during the pandemic. I mean, I live in a pretty free country, so much so that I was able to sink my own damn boat, But look around. This isn't the same world we lived in 2 months ago. It's not the same world we lived in a year ago. And or maybe it is. Maybe it's just an eye-opener for people to see what's really happening. Is there a way to change it? Absolutely not. Are we going to go about this in a different way? No. You and I are not going to make a change. We really aren't. You can change your own situation, your own scenarios, your own life, your own family life. You can change the way that and the things that you do and the things that you care about and the things that you spend your time, your money, and your effort on. But to think that we're going to somehow change what's happening, no, it's just going to get tighter. I'm not going to say worse because, again, are there places on the world that are not as gracious and good as I can walk out right now and I don't fear a lot of things. I don't fear, and I should, right? But I don't. I still think overall, even the government doesn't know how to control the people, right? We've tried to control the people, but we've also learned that people don't care, right? People are still going to go grocery shopping. They're still going to go fishing. They're still going to sink their boats. They're still going to go out and vacation. They're going to go out to the parks. They're not going to listen to every order that is put out by the government. And the government knows this, but I think the government has got enough information from this whole pandemic shutdown, this whole stay at home. I think they've collected enough data that they can sit back and go, okay, we've got a control, we've got the thumb on the people, and if we need to control them, we can. Hey, that's a stop sign, buddy. Oh, look at that guy just blow that damn stop sign. If that was my kid right now, I'd be pissed. Oh, you little sucker. See, people won't even stop for stop signs. They were doing that long before. That dude just blew that thing at 30 miles an hour. That was funny. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. D-Wop, did you see the photo going around of a bedroom that people are claiming to be Gannon's room in South Carolina? No, I did not. True crime has gone on hold for a little bit as far as the court system. So Letitia Teabag is scheduled in court in June. I do believe that Lori Vallow has set up a GoFundMe to try to get her $1 million bond met. That ain't going to happen. There's a new interview that I think came out from Lori Vallow's nieces or nephew or niece's husband or something. A couple of new little true crime things. The question will be, how many children have gone missing during the pandemic, during this lockdown, that we will not hear about? How many children were killed in the first week of the lockdown and their parents have had, or their murderers have had time to vanish bodies, disappear things? How many kids will come out of this who won't come out of this pandemic? That's the scary thing. The scary thing to me is we're going to see a rise in murder that we didn't even know about until after, because murder didn't stop because of a lockdown. People who were in abusive relationships didn't stop getting abused because of a lockdown. Kids that were in abusive homes didn't stop getting abused because of a lockdown. And so the question will be, after this thing is over, how many children will have been killed, vanished, disappeared during the lockdown that we don't even know about? That's a real scary thing. How many domestic situations happened that were pushed to the side, that weren't addressed, that weren't taken care of during the lockdown? I wonder what the murder count will be after the lockdown is lifted. I think about that in my own life, because so as much as I love my wife and my family and everything, there have been times in this pandemic that I have gotten upset, that my wife has gotten upset, that we've yelled and screamed at each other because we're like locked in these houses and we can't do this, or we're frustrated about this. How many real abusive families and real abusive households have gone through and done stuff that we won't hear about because it was hidden, it was protected. They had time to disappear things. They had time to vanish people. That's a scary thought when you start thinking about that. when you start really thinking about what's taking place in our country, because evil didn't stop because of the lockdown. So we'll see what happens. Hey, thanks for joining me for some coffee this morning. And we'll be back. We ain't gone nowhere. I got to go get my cell phone back in order. But if you missed it, I tell the story of how I got my cell phone back. You can see the water drippages in there, which is crazy. Got me a new iPhone coming, which is fun. But I got to go get that thing put back together. Thanks for joining Dad with a Phone. We'll see you guys later. And we'll go from here. If you want to follow me, I don't even have my banners up because I took them all down. So no banners today. You have to go find me on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere else in the world. You might find me, you might not. We'll talk to you later.